Hi,
My name is Tracey,
and my name is Lynne.
and together
we are
Bollocks and Ball. We like to chat
And boy, can we chat.
about the bollocks and ball.
Mainly in our heads, but also about life in general. After all, it's good to talk.
Let's go.
Let's go. Hello.
Good morning, Somerset, and how are we today?
You're full of the joys of spring. Oh, that's not spring.
It's not, is it?
Well, are we autumn yet?
We're coming
Not
up
quite.
to it.
Must
Nearly.
be. Oh,
Bloody flipping feels like it.
Yeah, it's a bit it's a bit better than it was earlier. But there we are.
That's all. We're going very British and talking about the weather again.
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's be very British.
And talk about how the dreadful summer we've had this year. Frightfully, darling.
Perhaps we'll get a what do you call it? Oh my God! Don't do this again. Words fail me. Indian summer.
Indian summer.
Indian
But you can
summer.
have some decent Octobers. I've had some decent Octobers when I've been away.
We want some decent blooming summers,
Yeah,
not
No,
Octobers.
you're not going to lie. That's probably true, to be honest. It's flipping ridiculous, isn't it?
Never mind.
Hey.
It's dry.
It's
We're
dry.
alive.
Exactly. And
What
rain
more
is just
could we
liquid
want?
sunshine.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What is it Billy Connolly says? It's not the wrong weather, it's just the wrong clothes.
Yeah, all got to have a coat. A
Yeah.
raincoat. He has a raincoat thing, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Billy Connolly.
He's brilliant.
He makes me laugh.
Absolutely
so
brilliant.
much.
Good therapy. Just need to have a bit of a laugh.
Amazing therapy, isn't it?
Yeah, nothing like it, is there?
And it just, for him, he had such a shit childhood.
Did he?
Yeah. Oh my God, he had a horrendous childhood.
I wonder if he used laughter as like a therapy then to get through it. Did he?
Yeah, I
I've
think
never
so.
Has he got a documentary story? I know he's done a lot of series programs, hasn't he, of travelling with him, but I don't know whether he's ever done.
What, like a whole thing? There's a thing at the moment he does on and bits. It's Billy Connolly does, and he talks about fame and all this, that, and the other. Yeah,
Maybe a little bit of his stories on there then.
yeah, but yeah, no, he had a horrendous childhood.
Funny,
Really
isn't it?
bad.
We see, we never know, do we?
Nope.
We never know.
No. That's the thing, you don't you?
No. No.
So yeah, it's really
People just look at the end product and the fame and think, oh, yeah, lovely, it's all right for them and all that sort of thing. But most of them have a real big background story, don't they?
Yeah.
And it's like we were saying with the other day, we need those things. We have this very good and bad mentality, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
And there's such the wrong words to use. Because we have good times and we have bad times. But we need both of that for the whole experience. And we need to experience that in a sense. I know some bad times, are exceptional and I'm not saying we need to experience those, but we do have to have the ups and downs in our life. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, yeah, I definitely think we need the ups and downs in our lives because otherwise, like we've said before, if you don't have those ups and downs, you're flatlining and you're dead, aren't you? Really?
Yeah.
So that ebb and flow goes with it all, doesn't it? I think if you've had exceptionally bad times, as much as that's shockingly shite in the time, and it is, and there are some things that you wouldn't wish on anybody. I think if you talk to people after that, and I'm talking way after that,
absolutely,
they would say, but it taught me something and I've been able to help other people with that.
Yeah, which you wouldn't necessarily have done if you hadn't have been through that experience. No. And that's not taking away the travesty of that experience.
No, not at all.
Not at all. But people do things and become things because of that, don't they?
Yeah, this is it, And
that's why we do all have to. It's just, I don't like the words good and bad somehow.
No, No, again, that's a programming thing, isn't it? We're taught to say that it's like good and bad, isn't it? You know, but it's not. It's not the case, is it? Yeah, it's so difficult. I'm finding it difficult to find words for it. Really.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure what it is, but their experiences. All experiences are experiences, whichever way you view them.
And I guess like when we've talked about emotions, and we've talked about it with like Paul Cope, and how good and bad emotions are understood and misunderstood, but you can't quite use that word, can you, with the experiences the same?
No, you can't. No, because it's not a misunderstood emotion experience, is it? It's we'll have to think of another word for that.
Yeah.
Those experiences.
Sorry, just going to take a slurp of my coffee.
Karen, you have a slurp of your coffee.
That so wasn't me. She's a bugger.
Sorry, I couldn't resist. Did you know it's polite to slurp in Japan?
Oh, well, I'm all right then. Even though I'm not in Japan. Somebody might be listening in Japan. Okay, I'm slurping.
But it is. When you eat noodles, it's polite to slurp them up.
Oh, it's a compliment to the chef, isn't it?
It is a compliment
I
to
have
the
heard
chef,
that
indeed.
actually. Yes, I have heard that.
Yeah. And my dad taught me that it was polite to burp in India after a meal.
Yeah,
It showed
again.
appreciation for the food that you'd had.
Oh, it's only us British that turn it into something else. Isn't it?
Another set of programming. You shouldn't be burping, you shouldn't be farting, you shouldn't be slurping, you shouldn't be... God, we're so freaking uptight, aren't we?
Yeah, they're all natural things, aren't they? We all do them, even though you sit there going, no, I don't. Yes, we do.
But isn't it?
I know. Yeah, we're funny.
British programming is really fucking uptight.
It is very uptight. Really uptight. Yeah. We're funny old buggers.
We are.
There's another bit of programming, isn't it? Funny old buggers, that's British.
I think that's a Somerset thing too.
I love Somerset. Oh, dear.
Love it.
Mm.
I thought
Anyway.
we'd have a chat about programming.
Yeah.
That's just popped into my head. I thought, let's do programming. How are you feeling about programming? What is it?
Oh, immense.
God. Some heavy shite.
Yes. Yeah.
Isn't it? And it's what is it? What does it do? Where does it come from?
Comes from generations and generations and generations
Yeah.
that we take on board.
All the time.
Yeah.
And it's not just like the British thing either, is it?
No.
It's different for each family.
And each culture.
God, yeah.
Yeah. Probably, I mean, we sort of say how British we are, but I think there's a lot of other cultures that have a lot more deeper programming than we do.
Definitely.
Ours is can be almost very surface, what I would say surface programming, whereas some cultures carry it in great depth, don't they?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Mm.
And I think that programming is very much based around their cultures and religions and all that kind of thing, isn't it? It's interesting programming and how that programming shapes us throughout our childhood and how
it really shapes us without realising as well.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about that a little bit before, haven't we? How, we do things and it's always like, you sound like your mother.
Yeah.
You go, no, I don't. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
you
you do. And not that it's bad to sound like your mother.
I don't know, it is in some cases.
But, yeah. And we carry it with, like I said, without even realising. We take things on board without even, it's the subconscious, isn't it? The subconscious picks it up and carries it forward without us really knowing. And then we end up doing those things, saying those things. And then from there, we end up believing. We set our beliefs on those things.
That's the thing, innit? Like you say, it's not... When you're a kid, you're programmed without realising it, without your parents realising they're doing it to you, and without you realising it's happening to you. So you think of the things we say as parents. We don't sit down our kid and go, right, when you're an adult, you're going to say this. Do you?
No.
But as an adult, when we're parenting our own kids, it just naturally comes out.
Oh, God,
You're like,
yeah.
Fuck, where did that come from?
It's hilarious. Or if you sit there and go, why do I do that?
Yeah.
I don't know whether I've said before, like when I drive my car, I irritate myself so much. I need to get an automatic car. Because when I change gear last minute, like literally I turn the corner and then I change gear. And it annoys the shit out of me because that's what my mum used to do. Now, she never ever taught me to drive. Ever. I had a driving instructor. She never even sat in the car with me. So, but I've sat in the car with her, obviously, and watched that happen. And it irritated me then that she did that. And now I do it. And I really have to be consciously aware. Change gear. I did it coming round the corner when I came back just now. Like, why? And it's so hard to break. Yet she never taught me to drive, but I do it.
So the question is, did you do that while you were learning to drive?
Well, no. I wouldn't have done, would I? Why is my phone making noises when I put it on silent?
Do. Your phone's got a mind of its own.
Oh, because I didn't.
There you go, that'll explain it.
I'm not sure where I left my brain this morning. I haven't brought it with me.
Oh my God, I love it. We're going to get a bundle of work done today.
Oh my goodness. Honestly, I seriously need to talk to myself today.
Oh my God, I love it. Sorry, excuse me.
Anyway, what were we talking about?
We were talking about your shit driving skills. That's what we were
Yes.
talking about.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. No, I wasn't taught to drive that way. I was taught
But you'd automatically gone into doing
Yeah.
that because you saw your mum do it.
I was taught to change gear before I get to a corner or when I need to slow down, not after when I'm accelerating away from it or around it or whatever. And that's what I do. I really have to think hard, like change gear now. Not in a minute.
Strange,
Now.
isn't it?
Yeah.
You were taught one way, but your automatically go-to is the bit that you weren't mentally and deliberately taught.
No, and the bit that irritates the shit out of me. I get so cross with myself. Honestly. If you could hear in my head in the car, like, why? Why have I just done that?
But that's fascinating that your subconscious overrides your physical teaching
Yeah.
to go to the bit that...
Yeah.
Wow.
And I still do it now. Like
Jesus,
I said,
that's deep programming.
I have literally done it this morning as I came round into my road. Yeah. Why?
Wow.
Why does it keep going back there? And what? Why?
So you can see then how deep programming is without us being aware of it. How deep? Because you do
Yeah.
that automatically without thinking, yet
Yeah.
you were taught something completely different.
I learnt to drive 40 years ago. I learnt to drive properly.
Wow.
Sorry, just try and shut the dog up.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's because that programming occurred when you were young.
I reckon it is. Because they say, don't they, that everything when you're young, I think it's around 7 years old, is
Yeah.
really prominent, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, like you say, it starts back then, and then your identity's formed by the ages of 11 or 12, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe because it was so prominent in your life in that time,
yeah,
that's why it's stuck.
It must be, because it is almost like a default, and I have to consciously think about not doing it.
Wow, that's interesting.
Even now, like you say,
40 years
later,
you're still having to consciously make that decision to do that.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of, isn't it? But
when you think of it in that context, that's then like all that years I've been doing it. And it's funny how we just think, well, I'm aware of it now, so I just stop it. Yeah, right.
But that's the thing, isn't it? But doesn't that simple analogy make it realise that it's not I think it and then it's over. I've sorted it.
No, and it also makes us realise, it's funny, like how we think that, oh, I'm going to change that, and we think we're just going to change it just like that. But when you actually break it down to how long you've had that habit, how long you've been doing it. Well, it's the 40 years, but it's not just those 40 years that I've been driving. It's like you said, that was planted in my subconscious, probably, I don't know, when I was really, really young, maybe. I don't know. I don't know when I first noticed. Well, I obviously noticed without noticing.
Yeah.
So I have to break this 50-something.
Well, she's not going to say it. We'll just skip over that bit.
Yeah. Years of it being in my subconscious, because that's obviously how long it's been there.
So that just makes everybody think that reprogramming is not an overnight experience.
No. And I think sometimes when you're looking at breaking habits and changing things, changing your thinking, whatever, that's a really good thing just to think about.
That's the thing.
Because what we do is when it doesn't change immediately, we beat ourselves up then.
Yeah.
But actually really, really think about where that has come from, how long it's been with you. I mean, I never really thought until you said then. I always thought, well, I learnt to drive then, so it's been the past 40 years. Because I obviously saw it from Mum, but I never thought about all those years before that it was obviously, I was tagging it. So it's immense. So then you think, well, actually, give yourself a break, girl. I'm not going to change this just overnight. Now I'm aware of it, am I?
No, and that's the thing, isn't it? And I think it's the same for any thought, whether that's a habit, whether that's a thought process. So, take I'm not good enough, for example. If you've been feeling that since you were between 7 and 11...
Which is where there'll be something little trigger in your world that probably triggered around that time that has then escalated.
Yeah. Then that's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
And your subconscious and your database would have given you many, many, many examples of why you shouldn't feel good enough.
Yeah.
So, you've got that library of data where it chucks it back at you.
Yeah.
To say, well, there you go, there's the reason not to.
That little voice will go, yeah, there, see.
Yeah.
When you did
that takes a lot of work. So like you say, don't think that if you've not got it overnight or you've not got it within a week.
No, don't beat yourself up about it. Just really think and break it down and think, okay. And awareness is such a big thing.
Yeah.
The biggest first step, in a sense, is not doing it. Is being aware of it, because once you're aware of it, then gradually you can start making those changes.
Yes.
You can start thinking a little bit different. I'm still aware of it and I still do it, but I'm aware,
yeah. But so like you say, that awareness, how the minute you have that awareness, you're able to make a conscious choice or decision.
And actually now I'm aware of it, it's quite funny. It used to annoy the fucking socks off me and irritate the shit out of me. Whereas now it just makes me laugh a little bit. Go, oh, done it again. I've just done it.
This is it, isn't it?
So it's taken away that whole pressure of it.
Yeah.
Because that's okay.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's not killing anybody.
Nobody
is it?
died.
Exactly.
Like, I did it. It irritated me. It annoys me. But actually now, it's quite funny. And actually, it always makes me think of Mum, which is quite sweet.
So that's it. Actually, that's a lovely reminder, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? To give you that giggle and that memory.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's funny. And that, again, is just like, it's reframing it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So don't make it good or bad.
No.
It's okay.
And that's the thing. And like you say, don't realise, when you start realising how much programming you have or what kind of programming you have, don't beat yourself up that you have it or you feel like that or, you need to change it immediately. Because honestly, we've been doing this reprogramming shit for the past 2 or 3, well, actually probably nearly 4 years.
Even more than that, if you think about it.
So it's not an overnight thing, and it takes time.
No. And I do think when you can just be aware differently and think about it differently, it changes the whole story of it.
Yeah.
It softens it when you understand where it came from, why you do it, why you still do it, why you're on the road to changing it, but it's still there. And I think you can do that with whole big sections of your life.
Yeah.
So we have big bulk sections in our past, don't we? That because you can't change that.
You can't. It's done.
So by being aware of it and understanding why a little bit, and there are some things we'll never understand why.
Yeah.
And then those things we just have to sort of accept for what they are and try and find something, if it is a bad thing, try and find something. I can't think of another word for it, but try and find something good in there, which something good always, even if it's a tiny little thing, there'll always be something good that comes out of things. But we do sometimes just have to be aware and consciously make the effort to notice them.
This is it, because sometimes you can't see the wood for the trees, can you?
No, because
when you're in that dip,
it's all a bit misty, isn't it? And
it's really hard to see that, isn't it? Yeah. But like you say, there is that glimmer of hope in there somewhere.
And I think when we get that, and we get that calmness a little bit, that's when we can start to see it and start to feel differently about it.
Yeah.
And especially with programming, if we can just sit and think, right, where did that come from? And it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
And you might visit places that are a bit like, oh yuck, I don't want to go there. But actually, I think then it's sometimes that in itself can sometimes be a good thing, just to realise where it's come from.
That's it, isn't it? And I think also
it's an acceptance, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think if you can see, for me also, I think if you can look back at, so if you can sit there and go, okay, so where did that come from?
Mm-hmm.
And you can look back, then you can see it came from one of your parents or, a sibling or anything, or any part of your family. Also, I know it can be hard, especially if it wasn't a particularly nice thing, but also you can need to find that, I don't know whether forgiveness is the right word.
Peace.
Except peace. That's a really good word. Peace with it, and peace with that person, because they programmed you without knowing any different.
Yeah.
They did not, apart from certain things, they didn't do that. So your mum didn't deliberately teach you to drive like that. No. Nobody deliberately goes out of their way to say, they're not good enough, and even if those words have been spoken to you, which some people have had, that came from a place where they didn't know any different.
Yeah.
And
that's not excusing it.
That's not excusing it, but they didn't know any different, and the chances are those were done to them or those words were spoken to them.
Yeah.
So they think that...
Or they've watched that themselves.
Yeah. So it's not, like I say, it's not forgiveness. It's a peace and learning.
Yeah, I think when people talk about forgiveness, it's a very big word. Very big word. And it's not a word I'm comfortable with. Because I think there are people, there are times in your life that you struggle to forgive, because then that sort of becomes about you a little bit, doesn't it?
I think so, and I think it's also that
you've got to find you've got to find your own personal peace with it.
Do you know, that's a really good phrase. I like that, personal peace.
Yeah.
You're not forgiving the person for whatever act or words were spoken.
No.
You're finding a personal peace with they didn't know any different or they didn't know any better.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's as far as you need to go sometimes.
And that's it. And you don't, and that's not about, like you say, necessarily forgiving them.
No.
It's that's what happened.
Yeah.
I need to find my personal peace. I like that phrase, personal peace. I need to find my personal peace with that so that I can move on.
That's exactly it. It's all about you moving on. Can't change it.
No.
You don't want to keep, in a sense, going back to it because it's hard, but it's there, and sometimes we will revisit it. But you can revisit it with a whole different perspective when you have a little bit of peace.
Yeah, and a little bit of understanding and acceptance that they didn't know any better.
Yeah, and that allows you to separate yourself almost from that person or from that little experience.
Yeah.
That little bit of experience sort of thing. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's some things are just really difficult, and that, good and bad, isn't it?
Yeah, and like I say, it's all those programming aspects, isn't it? From your funny driving bits to those deep and dark and horrible bits, know, it's all that programming we received as a kid and then generally as an adult and stuff, but generally definitely those early part of our years.
I think when we can try and sit outside them and look back at them and ask questions and wonder why, I think it gives us more answers.
Yeah.
And detach yourself from, if it's a person, detach yourself from the actual person.
Yeah.
But just think about sort of why, and then that makes it a lot easier. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Makes sense in my head, but I'm not sure that's always...
I don't think we want to go in that head today.
No. I know what I'm trying to say.
Oh my God, I love it.
I thought you were the one with the frazzled brain this week.
Oh God, I'm feeling a little bit perkier by the end of this week. I wasn't at the beginning of the week or the midweek, I tell you, but I was barely functioning come Wednesday or Thursday. But
it's that bloody moon, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, battered the shit out of me. This one.
Me, I had the head from hell.
Yeah,
all over the place.
No, I'm definitely a bit perkier now, thank God. Otherwise, can you imagine us trying to do this today if both of us were like this?
So now we're in this moon. What's this going to bring us?
Oh my God! No, now she's asking me questions.
I love it. You know this shit.
Fucking me. No, I don't.
Oh, a little bit.
So
yeah, don't know it. Here we go. Drum roll,
so
please.
This was a Piscean new moon, so it was a Piscean full moon, super moon. So it was all about going kind of into our inner selves, really, and digging deep and stuff that crops up for us and all that kind of thing. And we're just going into this waning phase now, which apparently, though I read this morning, from the lovely Kirsty Gallagher, is going into Virgo and stuff like that. So Virgos are all about new beginnings, getting organised, getting...
Oh, I could do with a bit of that.
So yeah, if you really want to know more than this, because I really don't know that much, you need to look up Kirsty Gallagher or Luna Living. She's flipping amazing. Actually, she was on This Morning this week.
Oh, really?
And she's often on Chris Evans' breakfast show.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so yeah, if you want to know more, she's amazing. It is absolutely fantastic. But yes, it did kick a lot of people's asses.
Well, if you look, there were lots of high tides, weren't there? And you just think,
Oh, really?
you just think, well, if that little beauty up there can kick ass and do that to the waters, and you know, we're mainly water. What does it does? What does it does? What does it do?
I went and had a Bowen treatment this week, and I was chatting to my Bowen therapist, and she said that she watched the Dara O'Brien thing about the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've recorded it because I wanted to watch it, but she said they say scientifically obviously there is a link between the tide and the moon.
Yeah.
That they can't deny that, can they?
No.
But there is no link to the change of how people feel or the change of mood.
No, because it's not scientific, is it?
They say that there's no scientific link between the two. I call bullshit on that. Complete and utter bollocks and bullshit on that.
Of course it is. Why is it that we have to have this what's the word? We have to see it to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
We have to, yet we feel it. What's the difference?
That's societally programming that's probably been going on the past 200 or 300 years.
It's funny, isn't it?
Beforehand, if you go back so if you go back into where you think to like witches and all that kind of thing, and people that lived in villages and stuff like that, medicine wasn't a thing.
They all lived intuitively.
Yep.
They didn't have a bloody Apple Watch to tell the time.
No.
But they knew what time of day it was. Absolutely spot on.
Yep. And they planted crops and seeds within the moon phases. Like you say, they knew what time it was. They used herbs and stuff to heal. But that, over the last 200 years, has been programmed out of some of us. It's been programmed out of some of us.
So, I'm going to say it. So, what little asshole came up with, we're not going to believe this? Because it obviously just took one person to start that, didn't it? And start that whole line of programming.
Okay. Without being offensive, and it's going to be offensive, it was the Catholic Church.
Okay. We'll leave that there then. We'll just leave that.
But also not, so that's kind of where it started. But also, if you go back to, I can't remember, it was 18 something or other, the original Rockefeller, he, and then I think that went into the early 19th century, he used to pay people to become medical doctors. So he would give them money to go and do that and all that kind of thing. And that's kind of where medicine
all began,
all progressed and stuff like that, because they were paid to do it and do it scientifically and all that kind of thing. So that's kind of where it progressed a lot.
That's cool. Well, it wasn't cool, but
no. So it was almost like, he paid for that to become a thing. And obviously the more holistic side, the more herbal side was kind of shoved away.
Well, luckily we've hung on to it a little bit, haven't we? And
yeah,
and I think it's coming back a lot more now. I think people are a lot more open to the holistic side, and therapies and the way things work, and they don't have to necessarily see it, but they can feel it. Exactly. I think we're bringing those sort of senses back a little bit, aren't we, about being able to feel things.
And I think you need to.
Yeah.
I think we need to. I think
we need to go back to being intuitive.
We need to reprogram ourselves to go back into being intuitive, to listen to our bodies.
Listen to ourselves.
Because innately we know best.
Oh, and your body, if you don't listen to it, it'll kick ass big
Yeah, it
time
will.
until you do.
It will. So it, like you say, I learnt a really interesting fact without going into anything in detail because I can't at the moment, but I learnt a really interesting fact about how babies instigate the milk coming into mothers' breasts
Yeah.
by they do what they call like cluster feeding. So they will keep feeding and keep feeding and keep feeding because they are instigating that.
Wow. See, nature is so
It's an incredible
clever.
thing.
Yeah.
And nobody's taught that baby to do that.
No.
Nobody sat down and gone, right, baby, this is what you need to do. See this boob? You need to keep sucking the living daylights out of it so that you can get some milk. No, that's instinctual. Babies haven't got any programming.
No.
They do what is instinctual to them.
But the minute they're born, it all begins.
But that's it, isn't it? But like you say, until they start getting that programming in, they still work on instincts.
Yeah.
They do that because instinctually they know to do that. That's what makes them get the milk.
Oh, being a kid is just the best, isn't it? We just do things without all the programming. Like you say, do it instinctively, and then suddenly the voice starts.
Somebody tells you can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody programs you and says you can't do that or you can't behave like that.
No, that's right. And then the kid starts to disappear.
It's madness.
It is madness.
Fucking madness, mate.
We all need to be kids.
We do. We all need to be 4-year-olds.
Because we forget, like, fun is the best thing ever. It's the best therapy ever. And yet as we get into adults, it's like,
God.
oh, you can't do that because somebody might.
Somebody will think you're a twat if you do that.
Yeah. Who cares?
Who cares?
Why does that even matter? If somebody thinks that's their problem, not yours. That's something inside them.
That's it, isn't it? But we're taught, that programming. You can't do that because so-and-so weren't like that. You can't do that because so-and-so weren't like that. You can't think like that. You can't say that because that will upset so-and-so. It's just, honestly, it's constant.
I know, if we could just all be ourselves, we're not hurting each other by just being ourselves.
What you say? Unless you're being a complete...
And as long as you don't hurt anybody.
That's the thing, innit? Unless you're being a complete arsehole.
I get there are some people out there that do. So, I'm not disregarding that. But we all need to just be children.
And that's the thing, isn't it? And I just think, for fear of being controversial, and I'm going to be here, but even if people are arseholes, what's happened to them for them to become fucking arseholes?
Mm. And why necessarily do we think they're assholes? Are they really assholes, some of them? Because I'm sure there's some people we call assholes, but not really assholes. They just do something that's like...
Yeah.
Probably most of the time when people think that, it's actually, I really would like to do that, but I haven't got the guts to do it. If it's just something silly, not something to hurt anybody, but if it's just something silly, yeah. Andy Cope, didn't he, told the story of when he went into a school and did some training, and then he kept all the children in at lunchtime and let all the teachers go outside. And I think it was a little 9-year-old girl, I think, stood at the window going, why aren't they playing? And he says, because they've all forgotten how to.
Exactly. But that's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do we go after, how often as an adult do you go outside and run around like a loon?
You don't. Because that little subconscious in there will go, you can't do that.
You're a grown up.
Because somebody somewhere has said, you can't do that, be a grown up.
Yeah, you have to be a grown up.
Yeah.
Because that's what you have to do.
Yeah. Because that's how you should behave.
Oh, don't you just love the word should? You should do this. You should do that. Fuck off, should. See, this is what programming is. It fucking does your head in.
And sometimes when you hear that, honestly, guys, when you hear it sometimes, just think about it. Just think why. When somebody says that, or even you say it, just take that little bit of like, oh, hang on a minute. Why have I said that? where did that come from?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it'll take you on a journey.
Yeah.
It's like,
Rabbit hole, here you come.
yeah. It's funny.
It's great though.
Yeah, and then
It's a really good way of learning about yourself.
Yes, and why you do things.
That introspective stuff. And like you say, you don't have to get all deep and meaningful if you don't want to, but
Just have a giggle with it.
Yeah. But looking at yourself, why you do things, why you say things is really interesting.
I mean, some people can literally pinpoint a time, can't they?
Yeah.
When they know that's where that was bolted in.
Yeah.
Oh my God, when I was like 6 years old or something, that happened.
Yeah.
And it's like, yep, that's where that would have all started.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really interesting.
It's fun.
It is fun. It is fun.
Make it fun. Because we do talk about, don't we, a lot, like, look, you know, we all have this shadow that in our life, and it makes it all look a bit dark and doomy and scary. Whereas it's you know, some things are a bit scary, but they're scary because we have to look at them and take responsibility for them. But actually, you can have a lot of fun with that as well.
I think you can. I think sometimes looking at it and laughing at it and thinking, fuck,
you can, you know, and it's all about how you choose to look at it, isn't it?
Well, that's it. You
can choose to go, oh, that's a bit deep and all that. But actually, just choose to go, actually, yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's funny. I know where that comes
Wow,
from.
that's weird.
Yeah, okay. Now I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
And the minute you're aware of it, it changes the whole perspective on it.
Yeah. It's that old saying, isn't it? You can't change the past, but you can change how you see it.
Yep.
I love
and you
that
can
saying.
change,
it's my favourite.
Yeah, you can. And then, like you say, you can change whether you take that with you or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can choose whether you take that with you.
Yeah. And you can choose what you do with it. Because you can carry it with you, and it can be bad if that's what we want, the word we want to use, because it has such an effect on you, and you carry it with heaviness. Whereas anything you can put a bit of fun with, it just lightens it.
Yeah.
So then you can carry it, you know, because those things are always going to be in our past, but at least then you can carry it and it's not so heavy to carry.
No, you don't have to walk around with a rucksack weighted with flipping 20,000 rocks in it, do you?
No, you don't. You
so
really
you can
don't.
put it back in the past and leave it there. It doesn't. You don't have to carry it with you.
No. You can just,
because otherwise your
see it
shoulders get
differently.
really heavy.
Yeah, and it just has such an effect. And it's a shame then, because this life's here to live.
Exactly. You're getting one shot at this, folks.
Yeah, it's no dress rehearsal.
One shot.
There's a song in there, I think, isn't there?
Is there?
Yeah, probably.
I bet you can't remember it though, can you?
No.
Me neither.
No, not at all. And I'm certainly not going to sing it if I did. So we're all right there.
I was hoping I'd try and get her to sing. Not going to happen.
Absolutely not.
Right, my gorgeous lot. We will leave you to it.
Yeah. Have a great rest of the day.
Yeah.
Whatever you're doing.
And make the most of it.
Yeah, if you sit and have a cup of coffee, sit and have a little think about where all these things come from. Have a little fun in your life.
Yay! Have a good one, my darlings.
Bye.
So much for listening to Chatting Bollocks and Bull with Lynne and Tracey.
If you would like to see or hear more of us, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or of course by subscribing to the podcast.
If you share this podcast with others, you will make two old birds very happy. And finally, if you want more bollocks and bull in your life,
and who wouldn't,
then sign up to our newsletter. The link is in the show notes.
That's all, folks.
Love ya!